They said that what the Taishi here by Elokenu Imanu, kasher hoya im aviseinu, so aviseinu is Chachma Bina, and not Chachma Bina that's engendered through Aveda, but Chachma Bina as it is in the Etzem and the Shaman. Complete bittul and Ava Rabba to be incorporated in the Likus. Quoting at length from Tanya Perikutes. So explains that the Shorish of Neshamas is the Pnimius of Atzmas himself. So therefore, in Etzem, every year there's always attached to the Eibishter. Chavukot vukabach. Then he explained, he brought the pasuk in Shir Hashirim in the Zoya, Simani kechaisim al libcha, kechaisim al zoyacha. Like the seal, even though the seal moves on, the impression that it makes remains. Even though we're in Golos, so that's so says to the Eibishter, our image remains with you, and therefore your image, your impression remains in me. Which means that impression is the etzem nekudas haneshama, the essence of the neshama that's always bound up with the Eibishter. That's aviseinu chachma bina shebenefesh. Eis gimel. Omnam, however, called them mitzat hanefesh v'haneshama. If we speak purely of the neshama, so the neshama has rooted in Atzmos and has this essential chachma and bina, as we explained yesterday. Aval bislapshus haneshama beguf. As the neshama is enclosed in the body, Alislapshus mechase gamala ayin the nefesh is. So being invested in the guf, it covers not just the essence, but even the eye, as it were. It doesn't see the essence of godliness. The relationship that the neshama has in a conscious way in the body is only knowing and grasping is about God. We don't see God. What's the avodah down here? The neshama has to engage in the nefesh and elevating the world, the parts of the world allotted to each neshama. Now that is a whole different avodah. Shekol zeh, how does a person overcome and refine the nefesh habamis? How does a person come to see godliness when it's not apparent? Through avodah. That's chachma bina engendered through avodah. Shekol zeh adei yizbonen as b'chachma bina. This is meditating, contemplating the truth of the Eibishter, etc. in chachma and bina. Kefi sheboyim adei avodas. So here, we're now describing Chachma Bina as it's through the avodah and toil of the Jew, but he's not accessing. That remains in the essence of the neshama, that Chachma Bina, that Chachma is the bittul to you, the avarabba, and the Bina netzem and nefesh is I understand you, I get you. Not that. This the neshama, the yid doesn't feel as they are in that neshama. So this is therefore the request. May the Eibishter be with us once the Imanu. The Imanu is the same as the neshama is invested in the guf and engaged in elevating the world. So we ask, we're asking the Eibishter that the Chachma Bina Shebenefesh that you reveal to us, will you help us in our avodah, as he'll explain probably in more detail later, to reveal the Chachma Bina Shebenefesh K'moshe Mitzad Atzmam, and that should be revealed in our engendered Chachma Bina, in our understanding, etc., in the great limitations that it is, being the neshama is invested in the guf. The request is that godliness should be revealed. The Chacham Bina Mitzad Etzem and Neshama im Aviseinu. Not only do we want your presence to be revealed in the essential Chachma and Bina, that's the level of Isenu, but rather the request is Imanu, that in our conscious faculties, the Neshama in the Guf, we should be connected to and reveal the Etzem and the Neshama. So the essential component of the Neshama that has this instinctual and essential deep recognition and understanding of godliness, that should illuminate in the conscious faculties where we are endeavoring to understand, etc., with the profound limitations that we have. We don't see godliness, not the mahus, it's all yidis and metzias, we're talking about God. Clear? Because of, because the pasuk continues, Al Yazveinu, we asked before, if we're saying, may Hashem be with us, so that request is fulfilled. What's left to ask? Don't forsake us and don't abandon us. What's that adding? Now comes the answer. Do not leave us and not forsake us. We're talking here, as we engage in Avodas Berurim, we could be in a matzav of left alone and abandoned, as it were. As he goes on to explain, what's Avodas? First of all, what's Avodas Berurim? Shezui tachlis yidis and neshama lamata. This is why the neshama came down. Neshama atzmin etzichatik and klal, quoting here from Tanya, Perek Lamed Vav, Lamed Zayin. And it came down only to fix the Nefesh Bahamis. So we're asking, Shetiyan is, just we've explained this in the past, there is an aliyah, but it's not a tikkun. It doesn't have to be fixed. But there is the aliyah, the tachlis is the aliyah that the neshama has, which is describing now. And that is that the etzem and the neshama be revealed in the koiches gluim, in the conscious faculties. So what's the request? That as we engage the world, that you should empower us, and empower us that we should not be left alone or abandoned. What could be, what could happen is, as we're engaged in Avodas Berurim. So one is, a person can make a mistake in his avodah to go on levels which are beyond him. He's not holding by that. The other person is, he wants to, whatever it is, either because the other one, but deeper, he wants to, he wants to climb high madregas, and therefore that's wrong. And we ask, don't leave me, don't let me stray in an avodah which is aflo, which is not my avodah, as wondrous as it is, and it is wondrous, but it's not my avodah. And the opposite, the pa'amim, and sometimes we're inclined the opposite, not to become depressed because he fails in that which he needs to do, and could do, and should do. So these two extremes, not to aspire for that which is beyond him, and not to become depressed if that which is not beyond me, I failed. These two mistakes, they correspond to the the two expressions of the pasuk. Al yazveinu, don't leave me alone, as don't let me go and aspire and engage in avodah which is not for me. Not to go in that which is beyond him. Don't forsake me when I fall. That I shouldn't become depressed. Maamer. This is still now a summary of that Maamer of the Frierdiker Rebbe. Yeah, the Rebbe's beer is dalet. We can connect the Frierdiker Rebbe's beer of what is meant by Yazvein and what's meant by Yitzchenu to the Pirush of the Targum. The Beis Alishonis al Yazvein val Yitzchenu explains why the double expression, the Lechura, or Keifa Aloshem, it's only a double expression, it's one content, shouldn't be alone. Says the Targum on al Yazveinu, lo yashvi konana. Don't let us alone. That's obvious, but here the Chiddush is in the second type. What does Yichenu mean? Not abandon us. V'lo yarchikonena. Do not allow us to be distant. So this, we understand the diuk is behesem to what? To the Frierdiker Rebbe's explanation. This accords with that which the Maamer says, that these two expressions correspond to two eras. Not to go and aspire to that which is beyond him. His spirit shouldn't fall, and that's conveyed by we shouldn't be distant. As he goes to elaborate now, these two eras and two extremes. What's the cause of such a mistake? To assume avodas which he doesn't hold by. The point of truth has left him. He's fooling himself. So what's he missing? He's missing the nekudas ha'emes. So I shouldn't lose that. I shouldn't lose the nekudas ha'emes. Don't leave me alone without always having the nekudas ha'emes to know where I'm holding. Help me that I shouldn't fool myself and lose my way this way by losing the nekudas ha'emes. Clear? That's al yazvein. Worse than that is depression. That his spirit falls. This is of the tactics, as it were, and of the schemings of the Yetzer, of the Yetzirah. He shouldn't toil. What's the point? So he gives up. So what happens? He's distant. He's distant from Avodah. In the first case, not distant. He's just in the wrong area. He's going after the wrong Avodah. He's not distant. Here he's distant. In contrast, in brackets, he's involved in Avodah. But he's davening by Avodah, whatever it is, he's not holding it by Inyonim. Going in the way of Avodah, which is really beyond him. So then, as a amshin, he's fooling himself, and then the Nikud of truth has abandoned him, as it were. He's in the Avodah. He's not distant. He needs to be just literally put in his place, but he's there. Whereas the Yipul Ruchai, spirit, fallen spirit, he stops in Yoni Avodah and becomes distant. And that's worse, he says. I mean, there are many other illustrations of an Avodah that is a flaw from a person where he's holding at that time. But just, at any rate, so this is the request, Al Yichenu. That's the second request. Lo yarchik nona. Do not allow us to be far away. So the Rebbe brings now the Targum. The Targum's Pirush is behesem, accords with the Pirush of the Frierdiker Rebbe. Yesh lo hoisiv. Now a nuance. These two in Yonim, two extremes. Don't leave me alone and abandon me when I'm fallen. They're really connected. And one will lead to the other. As known in the explanation, it's two prohibitions, not to add to mitzvahs, not to detract from them. And not separate things. They had that as a hero, if a person isn't careful, and he adds that which is not appropriate now for him. So this this can lead to diminishing that which should be done. Quite cautious, because he's going to see that in the avodah of aspiring to that which he's not, He's not successful because he said, the bar is not, it's just not his bar, it's not his avodah. So he's not successful. That's going to lead inevitably to Baltigra. He gives up even on what? Once that disappointment is felt, so he loses chayis even in the things which he can do and it does hold by, and Baltigra, he slips away. So the head does it. Yeah. There is a benidin the dan, likewise here. Likewise, the Baltigra and Baltaisiv, adding to a mitzvah leads to detracting from the mitzvah. There is a benidin the dan shal yidei ha'tois alechas b'darach hafla mi'itoi. The mistake of going in avodah, which is beyond him, which is shizui shal yisofa. That's a kind of addition to what he should be doing. That could lead to mistake. That his spirit falls, and he won't do in yoni avodah which he is shaycht. And that's a detraction. Okay, you do a beinyan. It's similar to what's expressed in the pasuk. The pasuk says, "Alti tzadik harbe." Don't be too righteous. V'al tirisha harbe, and don't be too wicked. In other words, the person sinned already. Don't take it. Oh, I'm already crossed the line, so you may indulge us further. Sin, hold yourself, catch yourself. Interesting to see, I have to go and look it up. They tell us to see on this Indian, a Sikha Pasha Shmini. Looks like in that year. Yeah. I'm sure there's some definitely important elaboration there. Okay, let's go further. Yeah. Oh, he's hey. Nine, so like a whole new Indian now starts, right? As it were, a whole new depth. At nine, so you still have to understand Kalol Indian, the general, what's conveyed here. Of Yehi Avaya, Elokenu, Monica Hashem of Yisrael. What's the side there? The Kivin Shakos about Madgish. Since the pasuk itself underscores, emphasizes the difference between us and our forefathers. Like you said then, the Frierdiker Rebbe, that Sicher, 1927, he says, quote, we're not like our forefathers. So how can we affect it? On the one hand, we can't compare ourselves to our forefathers. Maybe she should be with us like he was with their forefathers. We're not holding on their level. So what's the request here? Question's clear. General question. Understand what the Frierdiker Rebbe said then. Batam, he gives the reason. And he says why? Why can't we compare ourselves to our forefathers? They were Bali Mesiris Nefesh. Now, the question of the previous Maamer was, so are you, the deepest way? Not the Shaila here. Here, the L'chaira question is based on what we just learned now. In light of that, which we quoted from the beginning of the Maamer here. Our fathers go in Chacham, but here he answers a prat he didn't say before. Like he says in Tanya, Per Gimel. Chabad Nikra Imois. Chabad is called the mothers, father and mother, but in general Imois. Umokel the midas, and that the source of the emotions can be this until the Chabad. According from Tanya, because the emotions are born of intellect. And they, Chacham Bin, respectively, are the father and mother, which give birth to the emotion. So therefore, what's the question? So here's the question now. How does he say we're not like our forefathers? They were Bali Mesiris Nefesh. We're explaining forefathers here as being Chacham and Bina. So how should he be described? Aviseinu? They were great towering intellects. They understood you. Aviseinu goes on Chacham and Bina. And we're not similar. So what does he mention Mesiras Nefesh? Lama Madgish in Mesiras Nefesh Dafka. What does he mention Dafka in Mesiras Nefesh? Moreover, the Shailis, we say the Mizah, question's clear, yeah. He should have said, we're not similar to our forefathers, they were towering intellects. They understood you, etc. You say the Mizah, moreover, the Shail is greater now, Shadi being Mesiras Nefesh. If we're talking about Mesiras Nefesh, so our Mesiras Nefesh is greater than theirs. There's a mile in the latter generation. Makemach is explained elsewhere. In Chassidus, Bepirish HaKosov, the Pasuk says, "Vish Moshe onov ma'od mikol ha'od masher pnei Adam." That Moshe was exceedingly humble before every person on the face of the earth. This is brought from the Medrash. His humility was primarily relative to who? All Yidden to the final generation. On the contrary, his main humility that he was in awe of, seeing us, the final generation. He sees, look at these Yidden. They don't have a good understanding of godliness. Clearly, they don't. We have understanding, but our understanding is not called understanding at all. Because it's not Yediyas HaMahus, it's Yediyas HaMiyas. We're learning about God, we're not seeing it. But for sure, compared to the grasp of Moshe Rabbeinu's generation, they described the generation of knowledge. That's his generation. And certainly his grasp. He is the choice human being, the ultimate human being. The Rambam describes him in Pirush HaMishnayos. In his Akdama, that Perek Chelik in Sanhedrin, the famous Akdama there, he goes through all the Yesodis of Yiddishkeit, and one of them is to believe and know that Moshe Rabbeinu was the ultimate. Mivchar Mina Anushi. The choice within the human species. He's the first one to receive the Torah from the Eibishter. So he has all of these milas. He's inspired, he understands, he communicates with God. And he looks at our generation and he sees, such a great lacks all of this, utterly. And yet, Mekayimim to the mitzvahs, Mesiras Nefesh, they do the Mekayim to the mitzvahs with Mesiras Nefesh. Notwithstanding all of the manias that which holds them back, and obstacles on this yonis and test of the final generation, a generation that faces assimilation. And he was in awe of them. Continuing, if you go back to the early generations, to the generation of Moshe, they didn't need Mesiras Nefesh because they were inspired and elevated and refined and felt the divine. In fact, we don't find Mesiras Nefesh so much in the early generations because they didn't need it. They're committed because they understood and felt. So there's a big mile. Moshe Rabbeinu is humility and he's in awe, dafka of the final generation. So now the question is, we keep Mesiras Nefesh dafka. So where's Mesiras Nefesh here in Soviet Russia, here in America? So what's the Fidig Rebbe saying? We're not compared to our forefathers if he meant intellectually good. But he doesn't mean that. He spells it out that they were battling Mesiras Nefesh with Pearl, and here we're not. It's more so. He says being Mesiras Nefesh dafka. We're incomparable in Mesiras Nefesh. No. And Mesiras Nefesh is higher precisely because we're lower. Yeah, question is clear. So what are the questions he's asking now? This new ois. What are the new questions here? Let's review them.
Which is If he could have his, and if that's the case, why if he could have his schedule? We need to be like when it comes to material.
No, the first question. It's a simple question on the pasuk. The first question is, anybody? Hello, can't hear you. First question is, you're saying we're not comparable to Aviceno. So then how can you then expect that Hashem should be with us like he was with our forefathers and we're incomparable to them? He'll be with us in a different way. A way that is appropriate to our level. How are you asking he should be with us like he was? Im Aviceno. When he says Befedish the feet get when it went dissimilar, but not like Aviceno. That was the first question. They're going into Pratim. And then we're more puzzled because what does he say? How does he describe Aviceno? That they're Bali Mesiris Nefesh. But the question is,
If you're gonna say we can't compare to them, then
it should
make sense in terms of the fact that they were in Bali.
Yeah, we should say how we're incomparable, not because they're Bali Mesiris Nefesh, because they're great intellects and understood and saw godliness. That should be the explanation of how we're dissimilar, not Mesiris Nefesh. And on the contrary, if it's Mesiris Nefesh, then we're even greater.
Last one goes, Mesiris Nefesh. We also have Mesiris Nefesh. So I can say this goes much deeper.
This Maamer is taking it even further. Not only we also have, and he has Mesiris Nefesh right then and there saying this is and he's just coming from facing the firing squad of Achman Litzlan or Elisiyah. Here he's saying, Adanabed, Mesiris Nefesh is greater, which is when Moishe Rabbeinu was humbled, seeing our generation called the Deir Hashmad, the generation that faces the tests of complete disappearance. Hashmad means, mind you, Holocaust, physical obliteration and spiritual obliteration. America, it's all in one generation. Disappear Begashmis and disappear Baruchnis. And facing such threats, no generation before us faced this in this way. And yet, he didn't be Mekayim Torah mitzvah, that's even greater. That's how Moishe Rabbeinu was in awe. So how can he say we're incomparable when it comes to Mesiris Nefesh? They were greater. No. It's a mighty dafka in our generation. Yeah. Eizvov. You've not been mashnis barely yield. So we're going to revisit again, which we explained before. So it'll be understood as we explain what Chacham and Bina means. We're talking here about Chacham and Bina. What Chacham and Bina? Again, not in the intellectual understanding and toil and discovery. Rather, Shakavoni Lipnimis Chacham and Bina, which is present, the inner essence of Chacham and Bina, Shemsad Etzem Nesham. And what is it? The Chachma Bitla Miti. Chachma is the true bittul, this innate true bittul. And that results in this great longing from the soul essence to be incorporated in one with Hashem, like the flame seeks to tear itself away from the wick. And what's been the is grasping the Eibishter. Why? Not because he's going through a process of figuring him out, but rather mitzad iskashus etzem nefesh, because there's innate connection. I understand you, I get you, because I'm bound up with you. That's what Chachma Bina means here. So that is, of course, a Chachma Bina that does engender Mesiris Nefesh.
Does Chachma, Mitzat Chachma, it's not, is it like a candle wants to, a fire wants to go back to its source, a flame, or on the contrary, that's Mitzat Bina. Mitzat Chachma, he sees the purpose, and and there's a shuv. Bina is the ratzu, and Chachma is the shuv.
He's not
question
saying,
mark.
He says very clearly that Chachma is the bittul amiti v'ha'av rabba Shemitzad etzem hanefesh likol. I mean, before he said it in great detail, to be incorporated in Elikus. It's all one way here. It's missing that only happens, this surrender to the kavanah with the neshama is thrust into the guf. Here it's all desire of selflessness to be absorbed and incorporated within you. And there's no criticism of this. This is the etzem teva neshama. But that's lost on the neshama consciously in the guf. That was the request. That should be revealed lamat in our avodah. But let's see in the words of the Maamer. So the question was, Aviseidus Chacham Binas described him as Bali Asoga. No, he describes him as Bali Mesidas Nefesh, because this Chacham Binas and Mesidas Nefesh, they get bittul, not understanding, which by nature fills me. Usually understanding is I understand and it satiates. Here it's this longing, this unrequited longing to be united with Hashem and to lose one's identity. The flame seeks to tear itself from the wick and be incorporated in the source of Eish, Lamaila, even though it'll disappear there as a flame. Cease to exist as a flame. So Mizeh move and I will understand, again, because it's all based on what we said before, Ashaychos, Daviseinu Lina Mesidas Nefesh Dafke. Why Aviseinu means Mesidas Nefesh. Because because of the true bittul and the great love, Yiskashus, and the bond of Etzem HaNefesh Batzim Seirin Sof, the essence of the soul with the Eibishter, that's where Yesh Nekecha Mesidas Nefesh B'Kol Echad Misov. That's where the Mesidas Nefesh of every Yid comes from. That he cannot tolerate being torn asunder from godliness. Mavu B'Tanya, like he says in Tanya, Perek Yudchesh, Afil Kal Shebekalim, even the light of light, the least serious, literally. Upeishi Yisrael and sinners. Moisim Nafshem Akdushas Hashem. When it comes to the crunch, are you in or out? Are you Jew or not? They give up their lives. Because of this Nekudas HaChachma, where there's this natural, innate, and essential bittul open, where the divine, the Ein Sof, irradiates that level, and because of that, that's forced to the fore through this choice, and he is Moishe Nefesh. So we'll continue that based Hashem the Ondam the however. This is all the way it is be'etzem, it could be completely concealed. Be'ez Hashem will continue tomorrow. Continuing our